It had been 15 years since I last walked the halls of Cedar Ridge High School. When the invite came in the mail for the class reunion, I almost tossed it out. I didn't feel like seeing old faces or rekindling dusty memories. But my wife, Ellie, was thrilled. She'd been popular back then, head of the yearbook committee, always front row at pep rallies. "We should go," she said, eyes lighting up in that way that used to make me drop everything for her. We'd been married for 11 years, together for nearly 15. Life had settled into a comfortable, if not slightly boring, rhythm. I worked long hours at my IT consulting firm, and Ellie ran a small interior design business from home. We didn't fight much, barely spoke, if I'm being honest. The spark had dimmed, but I never thought it would go out completely. When the night of the reunion came, I wore a navy blazer Ellie picked out and drove us to the Old Town Gymnasium, now decorated in cheap gold and black balloons. I remember thinking it all felt a bit forced, like we were actors in a play none of us wanted to be in anymore. We checked in, slapped on our name tags, and I made small talk with a few people I vaguely remembered. Ellie disappeared soon after we arrived. She said she saw someone she hadn't talked to in years. That someone was Ryan Merrick. I didn't know much about Ryan, except that he and Ellie had shared a few classes senior year. He was a baseball player back then, tall, lean, always cracking jokes. He'd moved to California right after graduation. Never married, according to the gossip floating around the punch bowl. I found Ellie and Ryan about an hour later, sitting at a corner table, laughing like they were still teenagers. She had a cocktail in her hand, and her hair fell in soft curls over one shoulder. I hadn't seen her smile like that in years. I walked over, and Ryan stood up to shake my hand. "Derek, right?" he asked. "Ellie's told me so much about you." "Funny," I said, forcing a smile. "She's barely mentioned you." Ryan just laughed. Ellie shot me a look, something between a warning and an apology. "We were just catching up," she said, her hand on his arm a little too long. I should have known something was off. Later that night, after the dance floor emptied and the DJ started packing up, Ellie told me she wanted to stay and help clean up. I was tired, my feet hurt, and the chairs were already being stacked, but she insisted. "Just give me an hour," she said. "I'll get a ride with someone." I drove home alone, trying to ignore the pit in my stomach. The next morning, she crawled into bed at 5 a.m. Her dress smelled like cheap wine and someone else's cologne. She mumbled something about a few of them going out for drinks afterward, about how she fell asleep on a friend's couch. But I knew. Something had shifted. The way she looked at me over coffee. The way she avoided my touch. There was a sudden weight in the air, heavy and full of unspoken things. I didn't ask questions. Not at first. Because a part of me was afraid of the answers. Ellie wasn't the same after that night. Neither was I. We moved around each other like ghosts in our own home, polite, detached, like roommates who'd once shared a secret but no longer cared to revisit it. A week passed. Then 2. She buried herself in her work, constantly heading out for client meetings that never showed up on the calendar. I started staying later at the office, just to avoid the empty silences waiting for me at home. I wouldn't have known for sure if it weren't for her phone. It wasn't locked. Never had been. She trusted me, or maybe she just stopped caring if I found out. I wish I hadn't looked. The messages weren't graphic. Nothing explicit. Just enough to hurt in a different way. "Ryan, you looked incredible the other night. Been thinking about you non-stop." "Ellie, I can't stop thinking about that either. You still smell like cedar and rum." "Ryan, I meant what I said. That night wasn't a mistake." "Ellie, it didn't feel like one." My throat tightened as I read. The walls of our bedroom seemed to close in. I sat on the edge of the bed where she had curled up so many nights, where we'd made love and whispered dreams we no longer chased. That bed wasn't ours anymore. I didn't confront her right away. I needed clarity. Needed space to decide if I wanted to fix this or walk away. Instead, I asked her to dinner. A real one. At the place where we had our first date. She said yes. We sat across from each other at the small Italian place on Main, candles flickering between us. She wore the same earrings I gave her our third anniversary. Maybe she was trying to make an effort. Maybe she just didn't know how to start the conversation either. "Ellie," I said, my voice calm. "Are you happy?" She blinked. "What kind of question is that?" "An honest one." She stared down at her wine, turning the glass slowly. "I don't know anymore." "I saw the messages," I said quietly. She froze. Didn't cry. Didn't beg. She just nodded. "I'm sorry, Derek," she said. "It wasn't planned. I didn't expect to feel anything. But when I saw Ryan, something just lit up in me. Something I thought was gone." "And me?" I asked. "Was I just what was left after the flame burned out?" "No," she said. "You were the calm. The safe. But I guess I wanted to feel reckless again." We sat in silence. The waiter came and went, clearing plates we hadn't touched. The world moved on around us, oblivious to the small, quiet disaster unfolding at table 7. "I'm not going to yell," I said finally. "I'm not going to beg you to stay, either." She wiped a tear from her cheek, the first one I'd seen since this all began. "I don't want to lose you." "You already did," I whispered. That night, I packed a small bag. I left her the house. I didn't care about the mortgage or the furniture or the photos on the wall. I just needed to breathe again. It's been 8 months now. We finalized the divorce last week. Ryan didn't last. She told me that in a letter she left in my mailbox said he wasn't what she thought, said she missed the quiet strength I had. Said she still loved me. But love isn't just a word you throw out after you've broken it. I'm not bitter. Just tired. I take long walks now. I'm learning to cook for one. I'm not ready to date, but I'm not afraid of the idea anymore. Some nights, I still think about her. About who we used to be. About the night that changed everything. But mostly, I think about who I am now. And slowly, piece by piece, I'm finding myself again.